This letter is for the woman who has everything except the one thing she cannot ask for. He texts you. He calls sometimes, late, when the day has emptied out. He remembers small things about you, and when he says them back, you feel a warmth spread through your chest that lasts for hours. From the outside, someone watching would say, "You are wanted." And you are. That is the strange part. You really are wanted. You are just not chosen. And no one warned you that those two things can live in the same man at the same time, for years, without ever touching. So, you have started keeping a private record. Not on paper, in your body. A tightening when his name appears, a small drop when it does not. You have learned to feel the temperature of a conversation before you have read the words. You could not explain this to your friends if you tried, because on paper he has done nothing terrible. That is what makes it so hard to put down. There is no scene. There is no betrayal you could point at. There is only a quiet, permanent state of almost. Let this be said gently, since nobody else will say it. Almost is not a stage. Almost is a destination for some men, and they can stay there comfortably for as long as you are willing to keep them company. There are signs. You already know most of them. It may help to hear them in a voice that is not your own, because you have been arguing with your own voice for months. The first is that you are always the one adjusting. Your schedule bends around his. Your plans hold a space open. When something has to give, it is never his week that gives. A man who wants you in his life makes his life have room in it. He does not simply accept the room you keep clearing. The second is that he is warm in private and vague in public. In the quiet, he is affectionate. He says things that would sound like a promise if you wrote them down. But around other people, the language changes. You become a friend, a name without a category, someone he knows. A man who is proud of a woman does not manage how she appears in his world. He shows her. The third is that every step forward is one you had to ask for. The conversation about what this is, the introduction, the plan more than a week out. You raised it, and he agreed. And afterward you felt something that was not quite relief, because agreement is not the same as wanting. When a man is building something, he arrives with plans of his own. He is not waiting for you to submit a request. The fourth is that he becomes attentive at exactly the moment you begin to drift. Not before, not when you are hurting quietly. When you go still, when your replies get shorter, when he feels the distance opening, that is when the warmth comes back. That timing is not love. Love does not need a threat to wake up. And the fifth is the one that costs the most. You have stopped telling him when something hurts. Somewhere along the way, you decided that being easy was the thing keeping you in the room, so you made yourself easy, and now you carry every disappointment alone and call it being low maintenance. Add those 5 together and look at what they build. Not a bad relationship. Something much harder to leave than a bad relationship, because a bad one hands you a reason, and this one never will. You get warmth without weight. Closeness without commitment. A man who is genuinely fond of you and genuinely unwilling to rearrange a single thing to keep you. And every month you stay, leaving gets more expensive because there is more history behind you and less of you left to carry out. Take a breath here. None of this means you were foolish, and none of it means you loved wrongly. You loved with an open hand, in a situation that required a closed one. And that is not a character flaw. It is what happens when a good heart meets an unclear man. The reason you could not see it plainly is that he never gave you anything solid enough to be angry at. He gave you fragments, and you did what warm people do with fragments. You assembled them into something whole, and then loved the thing you had assembled. Here is the turn, and it changes the shape of everything behind it. This was never a verdict on your worth. It was information about his capacity. A man who will not choose you is not reporting on your value. He is reporting on his own readiness, his own honesty, and what he is willing to give up to keep something good. You have been reading his behavior as a scoreboard for you, when the whole time it was a description of him. There was a woman who found this out at a well, in the middle of the day. She came for water when the sun was highest, at the hour when the work was hardest and the well was empty of people. Scripture tells us the hour. Many have understood that she came then because the mornings belonged to the women who had names in that town, and she did not want to hear what they said when she passed. She had had 5 husbands. The man she was with then was not her husband. Whatever the details behind those numbers, she had learned to arrange her whole day around not being seen, and a tired man sat by that well, and he asked her for a drink. He knew. That is the part that undoes you if you sit with it. He said her history out loud to her face, plainly, and he did not flinch, and he did not leave, and he did not lower his voice, the way people do when they are handling something dirty. He kept talking to her. He talked to her longer than he talked to most of the important men in that gospel. He offered her water she would never have to come back for, and he told her, in that conversation with a woman with a reputation, who he was. She left her water jar there. She had carried that jar to the well, and she walked back to town without it. And she told the very people she had been avoiding to come and see. Look at what happened at that well. She was not chosen because her record was clean. She was chosen while it was still on the table between them. That is a different kind of being wanted than the kind you have been living on. It has no conditions attached and no audience to perform for and no cooling off period. It did not wait for her to become impressive first. So when a man cannot decide about you, understand what you are actually watching. You are watching a person weigh you, and you were never meant to be weighed by someone standing on the scale. Something worth knowing about men, since so much of this has been guesswork for you. A man who is serious is boring in the best possible way. He is repetitive. He says the same thing on Tuesday that he said on Saturday. He does not run hot and cold, because his interest is not being generated by the chase, it is being generated by you, and you are still there on the ordinary days. When a man's attention only shows up in the presence of tension, distance, or another man's interest, the attention belongs to the tension, not to you. It is worth understanding why a man settles into almost, because you have probably assumed it costs him something. It does not. Almost is the cheapest arrangement available to him. He gets company without responsibility, warmth without accountability, and the steady comfort of a woman who has already demonstrated that she will never force a decision. Nothing in that is painful enough to make him change it. He is not lying awake over this. You are the only person in the arrangement paying anything, and you have been paying in a currency he does not even see. And a man who wants you but will not have you knows exactly what he is doing, not always cruelly. Often he is simply comfortable, and comfort is very hard for a person to walk away from when nothing is asking him to. Nothing is asking him to. That has been the whole problem, and it has been quietly yours to change. Think for a moment about what it will be like to stop auditing his behavior, to not open the message thread and read it backwards looking for the moment it changed, to get a day back, and then a week, and then a whole stretch of ordinary time that has nothing to do with what he decided. That version of you is not far away. She is not harder or colder. She simply stopped negotiating for something that should have been offered. You are a daughter of the king, and the language of that house is not maybe. Your father has never once made you wonder where you stand with him. He did not send hints. He sent his son, in public, at cost, with your name on the decision. That is what it looks like when someone chooses. Now you have something to compare things to. And one day someone will choose you plainly, without you having to earn it or ask for it. It will feel almost too simple. That simplicity is not a sign that it means less. It is a sign that it is real. If you are somewhere in the middle of this tonight, say a word about your season in the comments, even a short one. There are women reading this who will pray for you without ever knowing your name.